YouTube, Twitch et Twitter.
Voilà. En mondiovisuel.
Ça.
So we start speaking English now.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hello, guys.
Hey, everyone.
GM.
Good morning.
Okay. We are live everywhere. Hello, everyone. Join us. We'll start a few more seconds so more people can join us. Okay.
So, Jerem, how early it is for you?
Where are you, Jerem?
I didn't hear.
Where are you? How
I am
early
in
it is?
Saint Martin.
What time is it?
It's 4. It's 4 in the morning. I just slept for 1 hour, and yeah, I'm very, very tired. So I count on you to make it alive.
That's all you need, man. You don't need more.
Okay. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to GM Web3 MultiversX, the Wednesday morning show devoted to MultiversX and Web3 in general. You can watch the show on X, on Twitch, and on YouTube live, but also on replay on all the podcast platforms.
On CNBC, ESPN,
BMTV, GM.
Everywhere.
You are forgetting Fox News. Is there a problem?
True.
And InfoWars.
And Tucker Carlson channel. So today I am happy that I got back my Arno with me. Hello, Arno. What's up?
Hello, brother. Good, very good. After a week of holidays in the sun in Greece, sunny Greece, back in Paris, rainy Paris now, but very happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. It's your first time in video, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So how it is?
I'm a bit intimidated, to be honest. There's too much technology now. When sovereign chain.
Allergy. So today I'm not only with Arno. I'm with my pack. So I am with Philip, founder of CryptoBay, and
I don't know, man. I mean, I have no idea what's happening to me at the moment. So
just CryptoBay?
Yeah, no, not only, but I mean, it's coming. I mean, things should happen soon. I mean, I'm not in charge of that. So yeah, so there will be more news about what I'm doing. I mean, I'm also working on Helios Connect. I mean, that's the main project I'm currently working on. But yeah, there is something that should be announced soon. So let's see, maybe today.
You changed your background.
I moved my desk.
Yes.
So I don't have the glass on the back. That wasn't a problem when I was recording or whatsoever, that you can see my screens and any movement or whatsoever. So now I have my glass things, I have the wall on the back, and even my girlfriend can work here on the back without missing hair, seeing whatever.
Okay, we are also with the Joachim, founder of Gopa Labs, and...
Oh, so now we're supposed to end the presentation and contributor on and advisor on MultiversX, and thrilled to be here this morning.
Okay, welcome, Joachim, and also with T-Capo.
Hey.
Founder, CEO, and co-founder of Sensei Ecosystem. What's up, bro?
Pretty fine, man. Ready to this morning. We are high energy as usual, and let's shoot out the MultiversX news of the ecosystem.
I just introduced.
And
and something that will be revealed soon.
When
We are all
timer.
there today. I mean, like,
Yeah. This is the league. They want to get some news about us, but guys,
There are
let's.
so many hidden builders on MultiversX and hidden projects. Soon you will reveal everything.
all at once. I mean, to the moon, to the moon.
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to thank the main sponsor of GM Web3 MultiversX, Hatom. It's the MultiversX leading lending, borrowing, and liquid staking platform. And as always, they're offering $25 in HTM, their token. So to take part of it, I just need to quote tweet the space link and say what you think about GM Web3 MultiversX. Say good, please. So let me put the link of their website and yeah. So the program of today, first, as always, we'll do a short press release, crypto press release, to speak about the different news of the last week. And after, we will be receiving Joe Wu, founder of Multiconomy, but also Noji on MultiversX, and we'll have different type of discussions about the ecosystem, about the adoption, about the marketing, about the business, about the global overview of MultiversX. So be there to discuss with us, to ask your questions, to give your opinion. Use the chat for this, and we'll start in a few seconds. But before, it's important to repost the space of the link, to subscribe on our different channels, to activate the bell on YouTube, to note us, to rate us on the podcast platforms. So it takes just a second, but it's meant a lot for us. It's very important in terms of referencement. So yeah, we count on you. And we will start the crypto press release. Just in a second. Let's do it like this.
Yeah, so I will announce also. I will announce. I will be in München for the event, I think. I'm still waiting for confirmation for the refund of my plane ticket. But I will shift my holidays in Korea, like to leave earlier, to come back earlier, and then to become to go to München.
Okay. Because when are you going to Seoul?
But she still has to take the plane ticket now. I mean, like, but we'll go probably the 16th. I don't know, middle of this month for 10 days.
Okay. And so you will come back earlier.
Exactly.
Be able to make it for X day in
München. I just wait the confirmation from MultiversX, and then I start everything. So we'll be there. It's important. It's RWA and all these things. I mean, it's
because you are working in RWA.
I used to. I mean, it's another subject. I used to. I mean, if you remember.
Yes, I remember. You're talking about block.
Oh yeah, we can make a show. We can invite Pierre.
So you will be there to represent block?
Maybe. I will,
Okay, so
I try to fill the gaps here. Okay.
There is a problem with the news I prepared this morning. It's not at all what I wanted. Okay, so first of all, the situation is in next to Israel creates a big dump on crypto market. Do you think it will last, guys, or it's just because of the news, and there will be in October, like we say.
Depends how the situation moves forward. I'd say I remember that when the war in Ukraine started, it dumped pretty hard too. So, but it's a different situation because Russia had, insane pressure and leverage resource-wise on the world. So there, it's a different situation. I think it's more an emotional reaction from the market, not something that is going to last unless it escalates. And like this would be, war is sad, but escalation would be dramatic.
And it's not only the crypto market at the end; it's the entire financial system that is taking a hit. But it's a starting of an event like that. It's normal, and like say Arno, at the end, even the war in Ukraine didn't stop to get on the ATH again. It's just a feeling at the moment, I guess. Israel is not heavily involved in crypto, for what I know. So, I mean, on the opposite side, we can think that maybe China and Iran will go for crypto digital asset before that. I mean, that can push in both directions. I mean, for the moment, I think it's too early, and we have to see what's going.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty aligned with you both review guys, to be honest, and we'll see the escalate of this conflict and how the market will react. But yeah, let's see.
Okay. So Chinese former Minister of Finance wants China to reassess its stance on the cryptocurrencies, and particularly as the US moves forward with the Bitcoin ETF, the Donald Trump announcements, but also Kamala and discourse and propositions around the crypto industry there. So it's interesting to see how the different area are trying to move forward with cryptocurrency, and even between Chinese and Bitcoin, China and Bitcoin, they banned Bitcoin so many times, and now they think it would be interesting to go back.
This is very interesting because you start seeing small signs of adoption, and suddenly Bitcoin becomes something else. And when you see states starting to accumulate Bitcoin, then it means it has become something else. And so now Bitcoin is starting to be seen as a resource, similar to gold. So it is reserve of value, and as you said, it's fun because China banned Bitcoin miners a few years ago, and now you see American presidents saying we should hold Bitcoin in our reserve reserve balance sheet. You see discussions happening also in countries like Switzerland. Those countries are, they're opinion leaders when it comes to reserve funds and treasury funds for states. So, I mean, yeah, China is lagging behind, but if China starts changing its position, then it's a complete game changer for the whole industry.
Philippe?
Yeah, and something that I would like to add, because I mean, there's a lot of movement since 5 years, 10 years, maybe. There's a lot of movement and decision made and unmade by different governments around the world. But something that I noticed at the end, that there is no really government that made a decision and kept this decision for a long time. So there is a lot of choice that go in a direction, in another, but nobody is really happy of what have been done at the moment. So I think for me, there will be, right now people are trying, like different instances, different government, different institutions, different companies. They are trying, but nobody really find the way of using it. I mean, public blockchain bring a lot of advantages, but a lot of complexities for a company. And at the end, I think we are still looking on the way to use blockchain on a different scale, if I can say, and adopt a technology instead of just following a trend. That is currently what's happening with most of the government and things like that touch crypto. They follow the trend. When it's going up, they're putting up. When it's going down, they're going down. And there is only, I will say, the country that adopt Bitcoin as currency that at the end just did this step and never get back. And at the moment, that's the only thing that are sure is like with all the decision and all the things that have been going backward, the decision to adopt Bitcoin as a currency have not been backward yet. And I think currently everyone is making decision, making tests, and we'll find a synergy that arrive in a unified approach. I'm not sure what would it be, but I think that's where the chaotic theory brings us.
Okay, do you want to add anything?
I mean, not even as you're being used as a currency, but there is a game of FOMO in here. If there is something that is highly increasing in value around the world, and you are the president of China or the government behind the people making the decisions who didn't see it coming and didn't surf that wave, and you see Bitcoin, like just reaching the gold market cap, and you didn't surf that wave, I mean, it's a huge, huge loss. Huge loss. So you need to be prepared for everything. I remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the fact Bitcoin was heavily discussed in the US presidential campaign. And, we didn't know if it was good or bad, but the truth is now this is a reality. It is here. And it's not going away. So if Bitcoin starts becoming a reserve, currency, whatever, but a reserve of value, and if America starts getting heavily into it, China has to get into it. Europe has to get into it.
I mean, can I just point something that nobody point really, but at the end it's something that we should never forget. I mean, think about being a government like you're China, okay, and you want to invest in an asset where there is a wallet probably that own all the Bitcoin and that can flip all your investments and all your reserve. I mean, even if we consider that the wallet is dead whatsoever, we can think. I mean, that's the concept, but as a personal, I make choice for me, as personally, and I take risk for myself. I know what I'm doing. As a government, I mean, if Satoshi Nakamoto it's the NSA or it's Netanyahu, you never know at the end, and as a government, no, I think as a government, you need to take that risk in consideration also. I mean, it's another scale. I mean, when you're China or US, and that you cannot ignore it.
Yeah, you were 100% right. This is like the hidden wallet, the hidden reserve. Everybody's forgetting the wallet is dead, but it's still here, and maybe it is actually not so dead.
And difficult to make a decision on an entire country for 50 years in that regard, at least when you're a worldwide leader today.
Okay. Have you seen Argentina Presidente Milei just met Bukele, Presidente of Salvador, and he just mentioned that he were interested in Bitcoin. So both presidents made a post on X, a picture of themselves saying that they will have some interesting chat. So is Argentina the next Bitcoin country?
I don't think that will be the next Bitcoin country, but they will for sure explore something, because something happening in South America right now with those countries want to lift up the dollar and maybe expand themselves as a new way of using the international exchange payment. So right now they already have a lot of crisis situation about the financial state in their country, and they have to onboard their population, educate them about that, and there are a lot of people waiting for solution from this government. So I think that's a great thing, and the experience Nayib Bukele already doing on this country is quite awesome if you look at the stats of conversion of people using it every day. So I think that will be a great moving path for Argentina if they are looking this way and using Bitcoin and take that seriously.
I mean, Argentina had, I think, year on year an inflation of 170%. So it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
There's no surprise there. Javier Milei has been talking about Bitcoin for years now. He's a very smart economist, and he's taken harsh decision for his country to try and put it back on the rails. I think we have completely forgotten that 100 years ago Argentina was a top 10 economy in the world. It's crazy. Like in 100 years, how it just fell off. And I think it's interesting when you hear people like Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, who's in front of the United Nations and making speeches, when you hear the same for Milei, and they all say, be careful. When they look at some other countries, they say, be careful, because it could arrive to you, and especially Europe. So I remember she's a woman. I forgot her name, so sorry. But the economic minister in Argentina and Milei, they made a talk saying that they want people to be able to use whatever mean to trade, to commerce. And I remember that the economic ministers even said they could use peso, dollar, Bitcoin, milk, for whatever I care. They should be free to use the way to transact they want. So I would say, it's interesting what's happening in Argentina. And as Tikapo said, those countries have nothing to lose in trying new things.
Joachim?
Yeah, so as Arno said, there's been a very different change in the economic situation of Argentina, but I would say this is a general thing in the world. We've seen quite a shift in the balances of power. We could take the example of the United Kingdom, which used to be a massive economical power and is slowly dwindling down on its grasp. And part of it is obviously post-colonialism starting to kick in. But on the economic side, one of the things that we're seeing with such new leaders, which are very against a strong government, a strong state, and the strong monetary control, is that the challenge, obviously, with let's say using Bitcoin as the main value for a currency. That's why it's interesting that for many countries, their dream would have been to have the USD a few years ago as main currency because of its strength and importance and ease to trade in the world. And that has kind of like shifted away. But one of the main challenges of not being the country themselves, not controlling, is obviously inflation, because inflation can have positive effects through quantitative easing. Which means releasing more money to boost the economy. Well, if you tag yourself to an existing economy or to a limited supply currency like Bitcoin, you obviously have no influence on how the money is distributed, on how the money is acquired. And the challenges with that is, how does a state manage to keep I know this country is going the opposite way of socialism, but how do you keep certain securities in the country without being able to have a certain control over the monetary supply?
Okay.
Hi, Joe.
Good day, everyone. How are we?
Hello, Joe.
GM Joe.
Welcome. How are
Thank
you?
Thanks for having me.
What time is it in Australia right now?
It's
In your part of Australia.
6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. So it's night.
It's nice because you are like in the evening and GRM is severely in the morning right now.
It's the
You
only
see the
common
difference
time.
in the
And
faces.
you can
I mean,
see in the eyes, you know.
Yes, I had a long trip yesterday, so yeah, probably looking a bit tired.
So, Joe, before we start our discussion today, we will have the weekly Hatom yield report. But before that, I would like to thank another sponsor of today, GM Web3 MultiversX. And this sponsor is pretty interesting because it's the NFT project eApes. And a few months ago, nobody knew if the project would continue, would succeed, or so on. So, but they keep trying, they keep working, they keep delivering to their community, and despite the difficult situation. And they wanted to support us in GM Web3. So thank you to them. And they're offering $25 in their token, the eApes. And all you have to do is to quote tweet the space, the link of the space on Twitter. And yeah, I put on the comment their link if you want to get interested in their project. Let me check if everything is okay. Yeah, normally should be okay. So, Arno, you wanted to talk about money market.
Yes. So, you know, every time we do a very brief API weather channel on the hottest yield on Hatom. So I'm going to do this very briefly. Usually I talk about two or three money markets. So this morning is going to be two. The EGLD liquid staking up to 9% APY. So pretty cool. And the second one is USDC stablecoins. The APYs are back above 20%. So, you know, this is pretty cool. If you have stablecoins, you can come on MultiversX and make them work for 20 to up to 22% APY. I mean, no TradFi bank is going to offer you this. Come on. Come on. So that's it for the weather channel. And all this happens on the Hatom protocol on MultiversX. So yes, GRM, today I wanted to help people analyze and understand how a money market works. So if you could, I think I sent you a link so you can open Hatom money markets and show. Yes, go a bit beneath. Yes, the first one, MultiversX. Yes, and there's yes. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's perfect.
I am so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a weather boy. You would be amazing.
So let me check the best setup. This one is okay, or you prefer the
this is
previous
perfect.
one?
This is perfect. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
let's-
full screen. Let's go. Yeah, perfect. So when you go on a lending and borrowing protocol, you have what we call money markets. So a money market is basically the lending and borrowing dynamics on a specific token. So you have as much money markets as you have tokens you can lend and borrow. So there we're going to analyze how a money market works so that you can then go in there and make the best decisions for yourself. So the first money market we're going to look at is the EGLD, so the MultiversX chain token. And so we are going to go through the different aspects to analyze the money market. So on top left, you have the total supply. So this is the total amount of assets that are deposited by the users in the platform. So there you can see that you have worth of 5 million EGLD that is deposited and supplied. So it is also money you can borrow. Underneath, you have the total borrowing. So you see out of the 5 million worth of EGLD, you have 3 million that has been borrowed. I will talk about the reserve factor after. So on the right, supply APY, this is when you will come to supply EGLD on Hatom, you will be rewarded with 1.81% APY per year. On the right again, the supply rewards, this is the Hatom booster. So it is additional rewards that you can get on top if you have a certain amount of HTM token, which is the Hatom token locked into the booster. On the right again, you have something very important that we talked about in the previous yield report. It is the collateral factor of this specific money market. So EGLD has a 75% collateral factor. Very easy. It means that if you come in and you deposit $100 worth of EGLD, you can borrow maximum of $75 worth of any other asset. Okay. The line below, the borrow APY. So this is what you will have to pay in yearly interest on your borrowed assets in this money market. So if you borrow EGLD on Hatom right now, you will have to pay 4.47% yearly interest. Then the reserve factor. So this is bottom left. So 35%. This is I'm going to make it super easy for you to understand. It's basically whenever you pay interest on borrow, 35% of this interest that is paid goes to Hatom, and the rest goes to the lenders. So the reserve factor is a way for a lending protocol to build like a safety fund, a safety reserve, in case anything happens. Then there is the liquidation threshold. So that's also a very important notion. So it means that whenever your borrowed position and your collateral reaches 75%, so the value of your collateral reaches when you borrow and the value of your collateral reaches 75%, you get eligible to be liquidated. So on Hatom, it's fairly easy. Your collateral factor is 75%. Your liquidation threshold is 75% on this money market. So it means that as soon as you reach the maximum collateral borrow limit used, you can get liquidated. Then if you can move on the right GRM, you will have the utilization rate of this money market. So this is a line that evolves constantly. So it means that of 100% of assets deposited in this money market, you have 63% that has been borrowed. So it is utilized. If you can see, you can move the line on the utilization rate with your mouse, and you will actually see the borrow APY and the supply APY moving dynamically. So you can see that as soon as we reach a certain threshold of utilization rate, the borrow APY goes crazy and the supply APY goes crazy, so that it incentivizes borrowers to repay their loans, and suppliers to supply more of this asset because it's highly profitable. So yeah, I think normally you have everything there to help you understand how a money market works. I don't know if anyone has questions, but even in here, guys, I'm looking at the chat, but I don't see any questions.
That was clear, by the way.
That was clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really clear, and I really like the interface also. It looks really nice.
That's Hatom. That's not
Okay.
I know.
But it makes it easier to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, DeFi is quite complex when you think about it. So of course, DeFi is not for everyone, but I believe that, you know, especially in with decentralized finance, it is completely transparent. So what's hard is that you have indicators that you can show, and those indicators are directly plugged on what's happening in the blockchain. So if you spend just, you know, some time and trying to understand, there's great opportunities for you if you want to make your money work for yourself. And yeah, so I hope that this helps you understand.
We have a question in the comment if you have time to answer.
Yeah, what's the question?
Normally you can see it. Did the liquidation used to be 80%?
You mean the liquidation threshold or the collateral factor?
Oh.
So, but basically, so I don't know 100%, you know, how the collateral factor and the liquidation threshold evolved over time. I personally joined Hatom at 6 months ago, but maybe in the past those liquidation threshold were higher or lower. Maybe they moved over time. It's a possibility, but I know for sure that they didn't move like in the last 6 months. They have been the same, and I've been using Hatom for more than like a year and a half now, and I think that the collateral factor on EGLD has always been 75%, and normally the liquidation threshold is equal or beneath, but never higher, because otherwise you have the risk of having a bad debt, and that's not what you want.
Thank you very much, Arno, for this DeFi moment. Always a pleasure. So we'll welcome our guest of the day, Joe. Hello, Joe. What's up?
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I wanted to have you on GM Web3 MultiversX because how long have you been on MultiversX ecosystem?
Around about 2.5 years, I think, coming up to 2.5 to 3 years. When I initially started taking notice of eGold when I was still Elrond. That was I wasn't active in the community at that time, but over time I became more and more active as as time went by and as I saw the potential of both the Web3 ecosystem as a whole and also MultiversX.
How did you know Elrond MultiversX?
It's a funny story actually. I knew of them through crypto.com when they were doing what they called syndicates. So syndicates is a method that they're not running anymore, but it's basically a way, a little bit like Launchpad, where you're able to purchase tokens at a 50% discount, a very small allocation, but at a 50% discount very early on. And eGold was one of the tokens that were kind of not launched this way, but launched at least on crypto.com's app and exchange this way. And at that time, I was using their card offerings, their Visa card for cashback, and I was participating in all the syndicates, and eGold came up. So that's how I knew eGold. And then there was pretty good earn APY opportunities inside the crypto.com app. And at that time, I was not familiar with staking and all that other things that are associated with on-chain protocols. So this was very easy for someone like me at that time to start up and to start learning about the ecosystem and to start earning some APY without diving too deep into DeFi.
Yeah, I still remember the syndicates on crypto.com, but I don't think they've run for like 2 years now. It's the good OG
It's gone.
days when we
Yes.
50% off was a too good to be true marketing ploy. But,
It's very
yeah,
good. It's
it's a
very
good
good.
time.
And most of the
But
tokens that they've launched this way all pumped. They're all pumped afterwards. So it was a
obviously
good strategy.
it's a win-win situation, a bit like the as you said, like the launchpad done by Binance, where like
Mm.
also there's like ridiculously small allocations, and yet the token, I don't want to say guarantees, but nearly a nice multiplier.
Yeah.
So not investment advice, obviously, but we during the bull run there was quite a lot of platforms that had quite attractive deals.
Definitely.
So maybe Joe, before we start the maybe more deep discussion, can you introduce yourself about what you did on MultiversX, the different projects maybe you contributed? Now you are the founder of Multiconomy, so if you want to take a few seconds to explain what is it, so everyone that maybe don't know you already can get who you are, what you've been doing, and after we will deep dive in the different topics around MultiversX ecosystem.
Sure. Of course.
Thank
So for those of you that don't know me, I have been a very big advocate of enterprise adoption. So that's one of the areas that I've been focusing on for the last at least a year and a half, 2 years on MultiversX, because I believe that is an area with a huge growth potential. And it's one of those areas where it's very, at the moment, very difficult in a way, but yet quite easy in other ways to try and bridge all the traditional Web2 companies and enterprises that know very little about Web3 to come onto Web3, not necessarily only MultiversX, but focusing on MultiversX as a platform and foundation because of the strong technology, the underlying strong technology that's we have at MultiversX, and the foundation have done a great job at that. So in the past year and a half, 2 years, even through Multiconomy and through my own efforts as well, and collaborating with the MultiversX team directly in some key points, we have been pushing a lot in the backgrounds, thinking and doing what we think would benefit and bridge people that are important in the Web2 industry, the traditional enterprises, the C-suites, but they don't know too much. They need to get clued up on, what blockchain is, what Web3 is, and how it actually applies to them. So in terms of multi-economy, we're actually pivoting a little bit from our initial vision, and we're going to focus a lot more on what we can actually do to bridge that gap. And there is make no mistake, there is a gap there. There is quite a big gap there in terms of people knowing about Bitcoin, about blockchain, and then those people that are in the enterprises, the decision makers, then deciding to be interested in this technology and to actually then do something with it. And there's many steps in between that as well, because they need a lot of push and convincing in order to then move. Especially the bigger the enterprise, the slower it is, because the decision making process is very long, and there is compliance and regulatory issues as well, jurisdiction. So they're all things that are barriers and things that we need to actually cross. So all my efforts around Multiverse X and Web3 in general is to push the enterprise adoption. And what I mean by enterprises are, my focus is around those that are not already common and already digital. So, the gaming, the metaverse, the DeFi, they're already kind of thriving, if you like, in Web3. But those other ones, like, traditional supply chains, medtech, and ESG, environmental problems, and different markets in the traditional finance as well. So those ones that haven't actually touched or are having trouble transitioning onto Web3 and need education, need bridging, need a leg up, if you like. So I hope that summarizes, all the efforts, and it is a coherent effort. Everything that I've been doing, whether it's pushing on, on my own, or pushing through multi-economy, or pushing through with the team, with MultiversX in collaboration, that is the general direction that's of focus that I have been really advocating hard, and picking up all the weak points and then trying to actually action and do something about it, whether it's in the background or whether it's actionable things that can be seen over, a longer period of time.
Thanks for this, Joe. It's brilliant, and it's a good overview. And I think that being knowing you for now a couple of years, it sums up pretty much what you like to do and the value that you can bring to this ecosystem. Could you deep dive now, like very concretely, in those conversations that you have with some actors, some companies in those specific industries? What are the main blockers? And like, if you could be super concrete about them.
Sure. Look, I think one thing to raise, first of all, is that people are resistant to change, and enterprises are made up of, people, and they're people that are very likely a little bit older in age. No discrimination, but that is the fact, because especially C-suites in traditional companies and enterprises, they are very experienced in their respective fields, and full respect to them as well. And change is not easy. It doesn't come easy. Any type of change is not easy. So just a very quick example, ERP implementations in enterprises, they're a nightmare. And they're a big change, but they're a very, very big nightmare in general in terms of a project to implement into a big enterprise. So Web3 is no different. It's an emerging technology. There are many unknowns and many things that have not been regulated. So it is only natural for them to be scared of and kind of put off by the potential change that is to come. One of the other things that I would like to point out, which is not immediately obvious because the change one I think is quite obvious, is there is a couple more factors which I've realized after having conversations with many different enterprises. One being that there is a lot of enterprises that want to be seen to be doing something, but they don't have the follow through. So very good examples are that I know that there are many banks, many big banks in the world right now that actually has a blockchain team in their, in their departments. Part of their department is there is a sub department, if you like, under technology called the blockchain team, or the Web3 team they call it. They're very segregated. They're project based, and all they do is really pilots, right? They do pilots on this, they do pilots on that. But if you look at the percentages in general of the transition of a pilot into something that's a real world use case into their actual integrating into their actual systems that are live, that are serving customers, very few. Very few. It's a very small percentage. So what this tells me is that
could you, sorry to interrupt you, but why is that? What?
Yeah, so I'm getting to that. So this tells me that they want to satisfy and tick that box of, hey, we're doing something to do with blockchain, and we are seen to be the pioneers and innovators of doing something, right? And same applies to AI. It's very similar. But to actually then take it live actually requires real effort, because then you gotta go through the regulatory hurdles and all those other things that POCs don't really apply, or very lightly apply to only. So the real grind begins after the POC. And what their actions are telling me is that, hey, we've got a set amount of budget for this innovation, exploration type thing, and we've got a team here to do that. But we're just going to silently kind of put boundaries around them and segregate them, because what we want to achieve is the public image of, hey, we are actually doing something, and we're also touching the cutting edge of technology. It's a marketing thing, I think, and a credentials thing at the end of the day, and not really a, hey, I actually really want to implement and use this technology. Now, this links to the next point, which I wanted to point out, is the decision makers, the ones that are higher up the C-suite. What is in it actually for them to make the decision to adopt Web3, right? And this is the important question that we have to ask, because at this stage it's early. It's a cliche, but it is early, and they are possibly doing quite well already with their existing technologies, and things that can be solved without Web3. They're probably utilizing or are going to utilize already. So, what is the risk to reward benefit of them? Why have I just did I just turn upside down?
Yeah, you.
But I haven't moved.
Yeah, but
GM, what did you do?
Earth is rotating. Earth is rotating, and now you're on the other side. So it's just.
Okay, here we go.
We good.
Here we go. So I think that the important question to ask there is two levels, right? What does the technology, whether it's AI or whether it's Web3, how does that benefit the enterprise? But that's not the only question, because then the question further on from that, which people don't really think about, is when you're approaching those decision makers, what is benefiting them, right? To take the risk, to put their, to put their probably their jobs on the line in a certain way, because they're allocating budget, allocating, they are taking on a risk to do this. So how can we get them on board, right? What is benefiting them? What is benefiting the enterprise? And the enterprise, I think, is very obvious, because that's what everyone talks about, right? Oh, for this sector, blockchain can do this. For that sector, blockchain can do that. But what people don't realize is that you also got to convince the decision makers and give them a reason also. And we're also seeing a lot of C-suites approving the first step being the POC, but not going further than that, right? They're going, yeah, good, we done the POC, and it's really for their credentials only. Hey, as a CEO, I've explored, used the budget and explored AI, and I've explored Web3 and blockchain and its applicability. Look, here is the POC. So it's something that they tick off. Beyond that, as I said, it's hard yards, right? So this is the bridge that we really need to cross, and this is where I see the difficulty lies, and what people are actually not talking about too much.
All right. Thank you for this. Just before we, I keep drilling you on this, because I think it's very interesting for everybody to understand. I know GRM wants to talk about one of our great sponsors. Yeah,
you rock. Yeah, definitely, because it's Inspire, and I know you know them. They built a network of merchant, retailers, and big brands, on which if you pay with the app they developed, and if you have one of their NFT, you'll be able to have discount, cashback, and so forth. They are already working with IKEA, with Carrefour, with Starbucks in Romania, and yeah, they are doing great stuff. And they're sponsoring this GM Web3 MultiversX on October. So I would like to thank them for this, and I will put their link in the comment section, so you can go to their website and discover what they do. Thank you very much, Arno, for the pass. And I will let you continue. I have a few questions, but I will keep them for later. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So, Joe, you were talking about two things here. The first one is the inherent opportunity cost for any company to change. So you have something that has been going on for you. It's been going well. 5 years, 10 years, sometimes 50 years. I mean, the pardon me my language, but the balls required from the courage required from anyone making this decision to change something that has been working for 50 years. I mean, you need to have drivers to help you make this decision. Either it's going bad and you need to change, or either, you have other companies putting you under pressure because they have decided to attack the market from a different angle. And so this is the second part of what you said, and I want to have your opinion on this. Who's the best company to attack with those discussions around, changing the way they attack, changing the way they bring their value to the market through a disruptive technological innovation?
So are you referring to, when you say that the best companies, are you referring to different sectors, or are you referring to particular companies that I'm thinking of on top of my head at the moment.
It's a good, I think, it could be a combination of both, but I'm interested in your experience doing this for now, as you said, more than a year and a half. Have you started to see some patterns of certain industries, of course, but also across industries, company types, that are more receptive or less receptive to this conversation about changing the way they do things?
Yeah, I think the general rule of thumb is that the more regulated at this stage, the harder, right? So we're talking about regulation in different jurisdictions, and we all know that regulation is a stiff thing to talk about. We have the SEC in the US and different bodies in different jurisdictions always keeping an eye on these things to do with financial products. So it's when it touches regulation, that's when things, I don't want to say it freezes up, but it goes extremely slow. Because when we're talking about big enterprises, they obviously need to adhere to the standards. They need to adhere to all the audits and all the compliance, both in their jurisdiction and also of their global and different jurisdictions. So it becomes a very complex thing. And I want to say that blockchain can solve it, but it probably triggers more problems than solutions, right? Because of the unclear nature of how blockchains and
And
Web3 is being regulated at the moment.
we come back to the cost of change, basically, the opportunity
It
cost of
is.
capturing and changing. It's like,
It is.
okay, you propose, maybe I could do this thanks to blockchain, but what I know for sure, and that is not a maybe, is that I will have to change this. And
Mhm. Correct. So that's why there's I have this concept of, hey, what about if you don't take the huge leap that's required, right? So Web 2 to Web 3, and that is a huge leap. What if there was a Web 2.5? And this is a concept that has been in my head and I've been building on it because it's conceptually it's easier because it's not as scary as, oh my God, we're going into Web 3 from Web 2 as a big upgrade, right? So what does the 2.5 look like?
yes.
Yeah, so
Please.
what does the 2.5 look like? I think it is a lot of abstraction, right? And we talk about, and let me just give you an example so that you guys know exactly what I'm thinking in my head. So blockchains are complex, right? They're quite complex. There's different chains. There's layer one, layer two, layer three. It's complex for someone who doesn't know about the inherent technologies and the stacks and everything to do with within the Web3 ecosystem. However, if we were to say and use the language of blockchain as a service, for example, right? That's very familiar because we have software as a service in the traditional world, like Slack, like Dropbox, like, all the other things that are modeled around software as a service, Webflow, all these things are software as a service. So if we introduce, and this is not something new because it already exists, but I'm just kind of pinching this example. If we angle it as blockchain as a service or something else as a service and abstract that complexity away, especially in the initial engagement and pitching and convincing stage, they will be able to understand a lot better than, hey, your solution needs to be on a layer 2 because, or a layer 1 because they have no clue, right? But abstraction, I think, is very important, and it's not necessarily a technology abstraction. It could be, but it's also the pitch abstraction, right? And the words used to tell the story. And it's always easier to speak their language than to convince them to speak our language. So that's always the approach that I've taken in thinking about what a Web 2.5 would look like. And I sincerely think that Web 2.5 is a lot like Web 2 in terms of language and description, so that people get comfortable with it, right? And perhaps we go as far as Web 2.5, and Web 3 is only really for all the technology savvy guys to understand, but Web 2.5 is the abstraction, right? Is the abstraction point.
When you talk about Web 2.5, Web 3, I mean those are notions and terms that we care about. But when you go and talk to any business owner, he's not going to talk about how he's setting up his infrastructure for his website, for his database, or whatever. He doesn't know about it. He just knows that to do his business in the best way, he needs the internet.
Yes.
And
correct.
I think that, to your point, we're going to see a leap forward in blockchain adoption once people start understanding that, blockchain is just part of the internet, and it is an upgrade of the infrastructure of internet, and you don't need to go and understand how the thing works. I mean, you're driving your car, you don't know what's under the hood, and you don't know how to change the engine or whatever.
Exactly.
I think this is the hard part of the conversations that we have when we're trying to talk about blockchain, is that we're actually trying to explain people, because they want to understand how it works, but that's not the right conversation to have. And I believe that this is why we are not moving forward as like global adoption wise speaking, both on the user front and on the business front. It's slow, but is it? I mean, is it really slow?
Just on what you said, I don't think they really want to know how it works. I think they want to know how it fixes, how it helps solve the problem they're having. In the same way as you were saying, like with internet, like I have a Wi-Fi router. 99% of the people don't know how the fuck it connects, and that's not. But they want to be connected in a wireless way. They don't want to use an Ethernet plug. That's why they use Wi-Fi, and that solves the problem for them. But Philip, you were about to say something, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was listening Arno speak, but I mean, nice to have you here, Joe. I mean, really great to have your support on the ecosystems. It's quite a long time. Just I come back on the discussion before quickly, because I would like to add something that I think is important regarding the bank that I try to have a proof of concept of blockchain technology. I don't know in Australia how it is going, but in Europe, I see that happening with a lot of companies that are usually a lot of collaboration with states and government and institution. And in fact, this proof of concept is mostly a flag saying, look, if tomorrow you want to make a project in public, that there's a public offer, we will be ready to answer it, even if the team will have blow up after that, because usually they don't stay there after the proof of concept because they get an offer in a better company. But then they are waiting for a public offer. So I think there will be, and to come back on the latest point, there will be two kinds of companies, I think. The one that are currently trying to make a proof of concept to try to sell this technology because they're already like a Microsoft and other company, because they're already in discussion with government and things like that. And then you have companies that want to learn about blockchain, really to use this technology. And to come back on the last point that we are talking, I think that's where it's become difficult when you're having discussion. As a user of blockchain, it makes sense, and we are all talking about decentralized, about permissionless, about all these things. It's nice, it's great, I love it, but it doesn't work in the real world. I think that tomorrow, 90% of the blockchain that everyone here would be using would be private blockchain. I mean, when you look at what currently government are looking, and when you talk about an extension of the internet, that means that you have an extension of this technology. And this technology, I mean, what I'm trying to explain to people is just a database. Blockchain is just a database with a layer of security that is at protocol level, and that help, in fact, the security, the interactions, the interoperability with other companies, and the break of trust of having all these partners in the middle. And I think that's the most important selling point, in fact, that blockchain bring on the market for industries, is like you'll be capable as a logistic company to send and to receive and to track the element without a third party in the middle that you need to trust. And I think there's two aspects that need to be pushed forward in blockchain. The aspect of secure database. For example, I think about space industry. We have a lot of public database that are owned by NORAD or by other institutions. But when you look at the bigger international scale, that doesn't work. China don't want to use especially these things, and we don't want to use China's database. So there is a middleman that agree with both of them and make the interaction. And having a technology like that could help this way, for example, or could help also the adoption in terms of institutional level to break the lack of trust. And then you can think about something semi-open and public, but the understanding of the company at the moment is like they don't know where to place the cursor on their research. And when they understand the need of a state is not exactly the need that they had for a company, and there's still a learning curve at this point. I think that's what I saw, because I tried also to push an institution. And when I discuss with, the thing is like, yeah, they don't want public, private, they don't want neither. They want something similar, 2.5, like you explained it. And I think that exactly the direction that we should go.
And I think the beauty is that we actually have the internet and the adoption cycle of the internet as a good framework for what Web3 could evolve to be like in terms of the process, right? So the internet from the 1990s until now, we can take the framework. It won't be exactly the same, but the framework, I think, is there. And to me, abstraction is the key, right? And it doesn't matter if we're talking about DeFi or any other elements that we're talking about. And DeFi is a good example, right? It's it's got lots of opportunities, but it's complex. It's very complex. So how can we abstract that away so that normal users without DeFi or Web3 knowledge can just hop in and start using it, right? Yeah. And whoever solves that will probably win in the long term, because then the masses are not going to want to jump through the hoops, sorry to say, to get 22% when they probably can't even get to that stage, because they don't know the steps, right? They have no idea how to use Hatom, for example, because it would be very complex for someone that is not in Web3. But if there is an interface in X Portal, for example, if it is as easy as that, to select, the USD or whatever that coin is, USDC, USDT, and then to just earn and to have the parameters around there and abstract everything else away, then we're talking, right? In terms of.
But Joe, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's take a pessimistic approach. Mm-hmm. Let's say that the people who want to hold their tokens, their coins, their money, they're already here. Okay? Let's not think that people, if they have enough technology abstraction, will want to get away from their bank holding their assets. Okay, and let's say that this is going to evolve with our generation having kids, making our kids understand that it's important to hold their money. And so this will take 10, 15, 20 years, like the internet, basically. Okay, so now how do we close the gap so that we have more companies, businesses transitioning to blockchain and having their user base use blockchain technology without them knowing that they're using blockchain technology, because this is good for the business. So I'm taking you towards sovereign chains. What do you think of this innovation that has been built over the last years by MultiversX, and how do you see it having an impact? Just very briefly for people who don't know about sovereign chains. Sovereign chains is an infrastructure solution that is what we could say it's a blockchain as a service solution that seamlessly is capable of plugging itself to other layer ones, and then having basically projects, companies built on this sovereign chain interacting with several blockchains at the same time. So it is both a good interoperability solution, so that you don't need to choose which blockchain and which ecosystem you want to be built upon. So it is a good technology innovation. But how would you see it being a game changer for business adoption, Joe?
I think that I've been digging into sovereign chains for quite a while now, and ever since it was initially announced back in the first X Day, if I remember correctly. And there was not much in terms of form, just an announcement, and then progressing with the developments over the last 2 years, and actually now coming into fruition. It is something that enterprises are looking for exactly. Now, what's important is that we need to package it properly, right? So the technology itself is great because we understand it. Other people don't. What is the pricing model? What is the scalability? What is, all the common questions that enterprises ask of their SaaS counterpart, solution providers. They will ask the same questions with a blockchain as a service, right? Because it's almost like another SaaS. So, is it compliant with all the things that this jurisdiction and also this sector needs in the medical industry, for example? Is it compliant with ISO, whatever code it is? Is it compliant with this? Is it semi-private, public, private? And I know that the beauty of sovereign chains is that the control is in your own hands, and you can make it public, you can make it private, you can make it semi-private, semi-public. It's interoperable, as you said. So it is, in my opinion, from the year and a half of studying it and hearing about it and reading about it and looking at the tech behind it, it is exactly what enterprises are looking for. And one of the things that I am collaborating with the MultiversX team closely is, well, how can we communicate this and tell this to the audience that we want to tell, not in Web3, but in Web2, and make them understand that this is just another kind of SaaS solution, if you like, but it's blockchain as a service. And what are the benefits? And what does that look like when you want to do a PLC, when you want to do a full integration? Is it hard? And what are the barriers? So the structure, I think, is very important. And I'm not talking about the technical structure, because I leave that to the MultiversX team, and they do that very well. But the structure of the storytelling and the pitch and the pricing structure, and all the things associated with that, the compliance and all the things that enterprises ask for.
I'm very sorry. There's Joachim who wants to ask you a question. So that I'm sorry, because we don't want this interview to last 3 hours. So I'm going to make sure that the guys can ask their questions.
So as you said, there is a very clear use case for corporations to use such solutions, and on that part we agree. One of the things when you keep talking about ERPs, software as a service, etc. My issue is that a company won't develop their own ERP system or their subscription as a service. They will use a third-party company, pay those to develop. So for me, we're kind of like jumping over a hoop, which is focusing on companies that can build the solutions for further companies and are specialized in it, because the R&D costs of a corporation to study the documentation, etc., of just to decide if they're going to use a sovereign chain, if they're going to use dApp chains like app chains from Cosmos or Polkadot, etc. That's the hard part, and all that has a massive cost to it. While I feel like the focus should be on having companies that specialize in deploying, because we were at the Paris Blockchain Week with Arno, GRM, etc. Like half of the freaking booths were people that were like selling the service of creating tokens on EVM for companies, and you're just like, if you need help to create EVM tokens, you definitely need help to create the sovereign chain.
Definitely. And I think there is no one size fits all here, quite the contrary. But there are, again, modules that can be built, I think, on sovereign chains to bootstrap them so that there is already basic common functionality on top of it and different modules to plug in, so that they have core functionality of, for example, tokenizing real world assets. There is commonalities in doing that, even though the intricacies may be different. So abstracting some areas away like that, and then making it easier for enterprises to then jump in and have a baseline there already of, okay, I'm spinning up a sovereign chain. Here it is, and I've plugged in these two modules, and things are functioning not exactly to the specs that I want, but then the customizations start a lot further down the track than, oh, I'm just spinning up a sovereign chain and there is nothing on there. So that's also what I see as to ease the process, right?
So on that topic, talking about modules is actually how Cosmos app chains are designed. They have modules that you can add and customize, and it is actually relatively easy to work on. Obviously, it requires a certain knowledge, but it is quite easy. But so would you say it's the job of the foundation or the core team to then develop those modules and work with the companies directly, or actually, because it still creates the friction of like knowing which modules, and again, like this whole marketing campaign of like a company that is not MultiversX can say, okay, we're specialized in bringing blockchain to your company, and then they will pick MultiversX for the company because it's the best suited for them. While if not, you would need the core team to directly do the marketing to those corporations. And I feel like it's too much work for a core team, and it is a massive risk to do that, because one, you're creating competition against other actors that might want to do that, and secondly, you're already spread too thin because you have to take care of the protocol, you already have your products like exchange, etc. So that's one of the things that worries me the most with sovereign chain, is like taking it upon themselves to do it, and in the end not being able to do it to the extent they would like to.
Yeah, I think you make a perfectly valid point, and I think it is, aside from maybe two or three at the most, two or three core modules that are, that perhaps a lot of enterprises will use by default when they spin up or utilize a sovereign chain. The rest, I would not think that it'll be on the MultiversX team. And I think it also needs to be decentralized in a way there as well, so that solution providers and implementation partners can come along and build also modules and promote those modules, and I think very importantly have a revenue stream around what they build on sovereign chains and on MultiversX, for them to be sustainable inside our ecosystem. And that's very important. Otherwise, the core team will be doing everything, and that's not sustainable.
So, Joe, so companies are creatures incentivized to create value. This is how they thrive. They want to make money. So this is the best way to approach them. You know, like, hey, I have something that can make you do more money that you're actually doing in a more efficient way, etc., etc. So if we try to get down to it concretely, have you thought about approaching a company in a specific industry where you see sovereign chains capable of helping them do more money in a better way, basically creating more value for themselves by helping more their customers?
I think one of the areas which I'm digging a lot into, and we did speak about this briefly in the Paris Blockchain Week, is around the ESG area, the environment sector and sustainability sector. The reasoning behind why I've kind of laser focused into this area, not saying that I'm neglecting the others, but this is one of the core focuses in terms of sector, is because there is a lot of greenwashing and all the other things happening, which are due to being not able to prove what you did, and therefore people are, enterprises, companies are taking advantage of those loopholes to shortcuts and claim things that they, haven't done, right? And this is the essence of what greenwashing is that you're claiming things that you have not done, or that you've not done up to par, up to standard. And this is exactly the same kind of parallel as blockchain solving the double spending problem. So I draw that parallel in my head, on a frequent basis, and this is one of the problems I think that blockchain can actually solve. So I think the sustainability, carbon, especially the carbon markets and the ESG sector as a whole, I
But
think
transparency is an
that's
issue, but would this allow them to create more value?
well, they're losing value and credibility. So the regulatory body, even the big regulatory bodies are actually some are in litigation because they are claiming things that they haven't done, or are doing things that are not right, and are now being put into light. So in order to stop that, something needs to happen, right? And they're doing some other things as well. But what I see is that blockchain can be a big part of making this better. And so it's not really about I think in this case it's not about finding a new revenue stream, creating value out of thin air. This one is more about saving value, right? Because they're losing value, because they're losing credibility. And when people say ESG, they go, environment sustainability is a whole fast, because look at all the greenwashing, look at all the people that are claiming this and claiming that, but they haven't done anything, right? And they're double counting, and then they're doing this, and they're planting a tree, but the tree was already there, and they're counting the carbon anyway. All those things, right? Stupid things that
Yeah, Joachim.
To your point, I actually 100% agree with you, and it's basically what we're doing full time at Galpa Labs. But it won't be the actors that have been cheating or that have been dishonest that will change first. What we've come to realize after a lot of market research is that it's actually the actors that are being honest and are actually putting all those efforts and having higher costs than the ones that cheat, that can't prove the difference compared to the cheaters, that are feeling left behind, they are feeling powerless. And those are the ones that actually have an incentive to use those solutions. And we're already seeing it in Europe and probably the same in Australia, that like the regulators are starting to catch on all this. There was massive studies in the UK that showed that like over 50% of websites, or 40 or 50 of the websites show like greenwashing information that they can't even back. And the reality is that once those actors that are being honest can prove that they're honest, the spotlight is at that time going to go on the other companies that have been lying through their teeth through all those years, and like, how can you prove it? And then they will have to adapt, because either regulatory or market revenue, they're going to lose shares. So they're not going to do it voluntarily. The ones that have been dishonest, they will be forced to.
Definitely. But also, I think those ones that have been dishonest and are being shed light on right now are probably also going to need a proofing mechanism, because they're being asked to, right? So,
of course.
Joe, so we said that we have a hard deadline internally in 25 minutes. So is there a MultiversX topic that, like, I put you in the chair of the host? Like, we all of us, we've been around for quite some time. Is there a topic that, you know, you feel that it's not moving forward enough, and you would like all of us to think about, discuss, you know, maybe you can think about it, and or you maybe have something.
Look, it's a very interesting question, and there is, I think, the difficulty, especially within the markets that we are in at the moment, and what I'm seeing is that the amount of movement, right? The building, we're talking about the technical building, but also the ecosystem building, and the rate of adoption versus how it applies to the community, aside from Eagle Price Moon. That's one of the things that I think really is quite interesting for me as an observer on the whole ecosystem and the community, is that people are, I think a lot of people are actually frustrated at the moment about the lack of whatever it might be, announcements or price movements, and one of the things which I have been thinking a lot about, and I think we can all think on, and me, I guess, from an enterprise angle, and perhaps you guys from another angle, or maybe even a similar angle as me as well, is that how can we like involve and leverage the community on, you know, let's say from my perspective on onboarding enterprises. And this is a very interesting topic for me, because we have, like, people are saying, oh, you know, the core team not doing marketing, and it's they're doing a crap job, and, you know, all these bad things that they're saying, and it's all noise, right? But sometimes you read into it and you go, you know, but what are you doing, right? And a lot of people have said to me after I asked that question, well, I bought the token. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm invested. But then I go, yeah, okay, so are you only invested, or can you do something else? So what I'm trying to say is that how can we, in, you know, enterprise adoption or in other topics, involve the community more and have mechanisms to involve the community more? And I think X Alliance is a great initiative to kind of bridge that, and that's a great, you know, foundation. But it's a conduit, it's a pipeline, but things need to go through the pipeline, right? So there needs to be other structures around how the community can actually then jump in. I think that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, because so I like to sometimes, you know, take things to a bit the foundational level, and there's one one thing that blockchains have changed in the way we invest is that some people invest in blockchain in the same way they invested in stock market.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you hold Apple stock, like there's nobody coming in and say, "Hey, what are you doing for Apple?" You know, like no,
Yeah.
this is you know, it is the most basic speculative way of investing. And with blockchains, there is this mutual economic alignment of all interests, where even if you are competitors on the same chain, if one grows and it makes the whole ecosystem grow, you grow as a competitor. So there is this shared alignment around the economic value of the token. So this is very interesting conversation, because I don't know if, you know, everybody has shifted from this Web2 investing to this Web3 investing. And so that's I can't answer this question, but it is a very interesting one. No, where I think there's something that we can have you speak more about is X Alliance. So because this is basically a team of people that are ready to take action to help the MultiversX ecosystem thrive. And so they have gathered under this this name, X Alliance. So it is a group of people. We've seen this across many blockchains too. Don't fall asleep, Jerem. Don't fall asleep. Please don't fall asleep. We've seen some very successful. I mean, we all have the example of Super Team on Solana. I learned something from Jerem yesterday. He told me that there's 17 super teams across the world right now. I mean, it is really cool to see, because it is actually, in essence, what you're talking about, Joe. People, you know, taking action to be more than just speculators behind the token. How could?
And unfortunately, it is very hard. It's
Just
yeah.
if I may, because I will read the comment on the chat, and it will help you maybe answer and maybe to go more global than just X Alliance. Solver is saying something that I was about to say, so I allow myself to interrupt your very interesting exchange, and because I don't want to sleep. He's writing, yeah, but buying the token helps the team to have money. We have different jobs. We did not raise capital for doing more. So don't you think? Yeah, we can spread the world, but what words? What is the direction? What is the new vision? So just to get this message that is, in my opinion, the most thought by the community. You know, we keep reading Robert Sassu's post, and we all appreciate a lot what he's doing for MultiversX on X, and his work as a developer, but also as a maybe an ambassador of MultiversX.
Key opinion leader.
Yeah, because when we check Benny's, Lucian's Twitter account, it's pretty empty for months now. Anyway, so the community was there to buy EGLD at the beginning. The community was there to spread the world. Builders came a lot between 2020 and 2022. We had like every day a new project. Some of them were scam, some of them were rugs, some of them were true builders like you, like Philippe, like Joachim, like Ticapo, and we can mention like thousands of them. And like today, most of them left, most of them are struggling. and the community still buys EGLD with the EGLD squeeze, for example. And if you want the community to do more, of course, you can do some quest through X Alliance, and it's good initiative, but we can see that it doesn't work a lot. Why? I think Solver asked a good question, and I will let you answer, of course. What words? Which direction? What's the new vision? After the matching of truth, after the rebranding with multiverse, metaverse, X word, and so forth, after the L2, Bitcoin, Solana, sovereign chain narrative, and so on. So all of this is pretty difficult for the community, even to defend MultiversX against attacks from outside. So my question, and I will let you all the time to answer to all of this, is how the foundation can help the community to be stronger, and how the community can help the foundation to be stronger. Because I agree with Arno, it's like a partnership between both.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things, as Arno has rightly pointed out, is that people's expectations may not have changed in terms of traditional investing into a stock, for example. And a stock, you just collect dividends if there is a dividend stock, and you don't have any influence really on the day-to-day direction and operations of of that particular company. But Web3, if we keep talking about decentralization and community, then I think the ethos must shift into something different. And that's why, at least for me, that's why I've kind of invested into Web3, is that I see and I can influence, if I work hard enough, the direction on certain things. Whereas if I bought Apple stocks, Google stocks, I'm just I'm just a holder, but I can't do anything. I can't influence anything, and there is no impact, right? Apart from capital impact. So I would like to think that a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people that are in Web3, who have decided that they want to get into the Web3 ethos, will appreciate and understand that you should put a bit more than just capital. Now, where and how? That's a very good question, and I think that's also where the foundation can do a little bit better in terms of communication on perhaps different sprints, if you like, of narratives that the community can then have clear direction in pushing, or different, I don't want to say quests, but perhaps missions or tasks. Like if I was to take enterprise adoption as an example, put some structure together and get some sort of a referral program going. Again, I don't really like that referral as a word, but something like a referral program whereby you use your connections to pull in different enterprises, because everyone knows somebody, right? Whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's the work that you're working in, that could benefit from Web3. But people are not looking. People don't have structure.
I really like your vision, Joe, and I'm just going to start from the start of this conversation very quickly with the comparison of stock compared to Web3. First of all, I would think that actually a majority of people who've invested in crypto, like regular investors, might not have invested in the Web2 world, and their first investments were in Web3 because it's more accessible to a certain extent, etc. Obviously, we have Robinhood, etc., but that's quite recent. I would say it was easier to invest in certain projects in crypto before it was easy to invest in certain companies because of fractional shares, etc. Anyway, but for me, there is also two different types of tokens, because as you're saying, if you invest, for example, in EGLD, which is a layer one the performance of that token is going to be related to a lot of things, but one of them is adoption. And adoption of that chain is the projects built on top, the users, etc. While if you invest directly in a project, like say you invest in Globis, Coat, etc., then I would say it's less related to the adoption of the whole blockchain. It's more adopted, and there's less, let's put, hands-on that you can do. So I think the specific case we're talking about is mostly layer ones or layer twos, obviously, but like the main token of a blockchain and how we can help. And I think it's a fair point what you're saying and what Solveig is mentioning now with when, how. That's the question. Is that how can the foundation communicate? And I know we have X Alliance now, which we've already mentioned, but like how can they incentivize users to interact? And I think that is where they have, I don't want to say failed, but missed a part, because as you say, everyone knows someone. And I think, again, by taking the responsibility of most of the networking themselves, they've lost the opportunity to use other builders' connections and other users' connection to create that massive network that would make that everyone knows about MultiversX. And we can see that strategy is what was taken by Solana. And Solana has spread a lot more the word around, obviously more money, etc. That helps, of course. But I think that they've managed to build this network of builders that are close to the foundation through the super teams, etc. That makes that the network has like become gigantic. While we are a few builders that I would say like I discover new builders that have been here for 2 years, not every week, but like once in a while, and I'm just like, how have we not been connected together? How have we not like had those like massive brainstorms together to make the network better?
Definitely agreed.
Yeah. So we have 10 more minutes. So there's two paths for you now. Either we keep going down that route, it's an interesting one, or either we shift for a last topic. Joe, you are the guest. What's your decision?
What does the audience say? Because I think that's the most important.
It's your responsibility. If you want, I have another topic for you. It's right up here. So if you want to shift,
Sure.
shift.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. What makes you optimistic in the next year for MultiversX as an ecosystem? I didn't say it was going to be an easier one.
When you say optimistic, are you referring to price action, or are you referring to other things that are maybe tied to price action but not directly? Because I know that everyone is talking about the price action, right?
It's a good question, but ultimately, since blockchain systems are built around economic alignment, it should come down to this. So I'm not saying what you have to answer is directly tied to it, but most likely, if you're saying the ecosystem is going to grow because of X reason, it should ultimately have an impact on the EGLD token, because this is how this whole system is built.
Yeah, look, I think if we look back 2 years ago and just had a look at the ecosystem back then versus now, and I'm not talking about the number of projects and the amount of adoption, I'm actually more talking to how the technology has evolved and how much more has been built by the foundation on a protocol level. It's quite hard not to be excited and positive about not just the year to come, but the next few years. Now, that is not to say and not to guarantee that, success is on the horizon, because we're far from it. There is a lot of work to do to get adoption, and we all know that adoption is not easy. So there are a lot of things that need to change, things that need to be done better. What comforts me is that, at least in my opinion, I think the MultiversX team is going overdrive. They have been in overdrive 110% for, ever since I've known them. They've always been very, very driving very hard. Now, whether it's in the right or the wrong direction is only for anyone to determine, right? There is no right or wrong in my opinion, but at least, we are driving. Now, as a community, I believe that, we have our part to play to make that optimism a reality. So I think that's also very important for me, to deliver, that message, and I have been hounding on that message on X as well, is that, don't think that Web3 is like Web2, because it's not. Think of it more like an ecosystem where everyone has equal responsibility and equal contribution rights and equal, amounts of being heard, attention. So when we flatten that hierarchy, then we all have a lot more responsibility by default. And that is if we choose to, right? If we don't, and if we just want to invest and then just step away, perhaps that's it for, a percentage of those people, and that's perfectly fine. But those people then shouldn't be too vocal about, all the negative things, because then they should step in to change those things, and to live up to those criticism and actually do something about it. So I think that's kind of my view. But all in all, summary, optimistic, very optimistic on the growth of the ecosystem, because of the strong technical foundations and also the strong community, which I think we have grossly under leveraged, and we haven't actually leveraged that much. So if we can coherently leverage that, whether it's through X Alliance or through some other mechanism or in conjunction, then it will make a lot of difference. And I think also the bull market's sentiments will help with that as well, to drag things up.
All right. Thanks for this. Guys, do you have anything more to add?
No,
Without starting a new 20-minute discussion, no.
No, just pretty agree with what Joe's saying. We have a lot to do right now. We have a lot of confidence of the community, but we have to improve that. We saw the team starting to exploring something with the satellite X-Day events, and I think we can't underestimate the power of low-level marketing. People trying to let's connect locally with some other community members, and then can reach businesses and try to find some use cases to make them on board into the blockchain technology. Whatever it is, even it's about the payment style, or just to start to create something about art on NFT on the blockchain, but just making awareness of more people. That's the duty of the ecosystem. And yeah, maybe MultiversX has to look more closely what Solana is doing, because they are really great on that part, to onboard community, connect builders and community inside them, to make all these people be in the same event like that we see last month on Solana break events. So yeah, I think to right now trying to address it. Sorry, and if they will succeed, we don't know. Time will see. We'll see that with the time. But I think they are making the great move at the moment to try to solve this issue. So let's do it.
I love what you just said, Tikapo, with this low. You said low marketing.
Yeah, low marketing level. I don't want to say how to say MLM, multi-level marketing.
Yeah. But yes, basically getting to the ground level.
Yeah.
I think the whole, one of Joe's points today is, how can we create more conversations? How can we create more valuable conversations? But there is the difficulty layer is that not anybody yet can enter those conversations and bring in value for the ecosystem. Because let's face it, it is super hard to explain what blockchain can do to a business, what additional value it can bring. Even for people who have been around for years, it's hard to explain. So I pretty much tend to agree with Joe and also with Joachim regarding the abstraction of the technology. Joe said Web 2.5. Joachim talked about abstraction of technology. This is the path forward in order to ease up the conversations created by the community and everybody around. So I tend to agree with Joe that the foundation on MultiversX is exciting. My personal analysis of the current landscape is that it was severely incentivized to build infrastructure. VCs put a lot of money. The blockchain is still a hard space to explain and to explore. And so you don't have that much users, that much businesses into it, but you have a lot of layer ones. And so right now, the conversation and the challenge for MultiversX is to manage to find new avenues to bring in builders who are not in it right now, because then it's a zero-sum game, and this is the challenge. We'll see.
Hey, we have 1 or 2 more minutes max, and Joachim wants to say something, and Philip too. So guys, 1 sentence each, and after we will release Joe.
I'm breathing in so I can make the longest sentence possible. Let's say during past bull runs, what we've seen has worked and has got people talking about. You were mentioning crypto.com, that you got their credit card and that's how you, or a debit card, and that's how you discovered Multiverse, etc. Like, there are simple ways to do, as Tiago was saying so well, low-level marketing. And like, one thing that gets people talking is, for example, cashback on cards. And that's where I'm just like, why haven't we been more aggressive on that as MultiversX, as Exporter? Like, how are we not using the fact that we used to, I'm not sure how strong the UTK community is anymore, but we used to have the UTK community. There was so many things that were like rightly aligned. I know there's regulation and everything. And like, how did we not make just attractive cashback so people would talk about the Exporter card? Because but it's inflation. It's not that expensive. Cashback isn't that expensive when you're the one inventing the token.
Did you see how
Zero works?
Okay. Magic money.
Okay. It's magic. Honestly, it's magic money. Revolut is another topic, but like CRO, BNB, all those are inflationary tokens that are meant to decrease in value because there's more supply, and that's why the cashback kind of competes that if you're active and using it. Anyway, I'm not going to go and hold the debate of cashback, but basically, like, Exportal and the card could be such a massive talking point, and having so much people getting curious about MultiversX, and yet we have ridiculous cashbacks. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't use the Exportal card because I have the crypto.com card, and I get more interesting cashback there. It's easier to swap certain currencies, etc. So like, I don't see how Exportal and the card is adopting people, and I feel like payment is the first step. Before you go to DeFi, you need the payment to be in place. Anyway, that was my very short sentence. Sorry, Jerome.
I agree. I totally agree. Philip?
Yeah, no, I would like just to have the last point regarding the adoption of institution on that. I think a lot of people like complain about MultiversX and about different choices that have been made. I'm coming from institution. I mean, like from big industry whatsoever. And the thing is, like, MultiversX is the kind of technology that they need. They don't know it yet. Probably an L2 on Ethereum could also do the job whatsoever, a private one. But in terms of configuration, in terms of flexibility, in terms of interoperability. Right now, there is nothing in the market. I mean, so I don't know when this trend of adoption for institution will come, for Microsoft, from Amazon, for all these things. But I mean, it's what I did, and I think if they do the same, they arrive on a similar approach. If you remove the community, if you remove the existing project, but because they don't really care. I mean, like maybe even DeFi at the end. I'm sorry, this company don't care about DeFi. I mean, like DeFi is for us because we want to be on the same level, but DeFi will be kind of a financial company that just doing DeFi, especially for that, managing funds from other company. But if you take from the technological point of view, MultiversX, I think, is placed properly with the sovereign chain on this regard. That means that when industry will need to take it, strip it down, configure it, get ownership, be capable to evolve, like be interoperable with the main chain or even with another private chain with the same technology. At the moment, there is nothing else on the market that provide that. So I don't know when this trend will come. I hope 2025. But the discussion, MultiversX will be properly positioned for that, I guess. So it's harder to see it as a user compared to other ecosystem, I think. So thanks, Joe, to enlighten all these points, because it's not so many people talk about that.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you very much, Joe, for coming this morning. I knew it would be insightful, and it was. Keep building. Maybe you can share some progress from Multiconomy. I've known it before. You took it over. It was Trustees. It was a pretty sexy project, on-chain KYC. I was thinking by listening to you previously, and I was also thinking about all these builders that build something very interesting, but the ecosystem don't have enough customers, don't have enough. The market is too small. So my last question, and it will be the opportunity for you maybe to speak about what you do today, is how Multiconomy and the on-chain KYC feature and maybe other stuff that you built since, how do you find customers for this, and is MultiversX too small for you, and so maybe you have some cross-chain or multi-chain ambitions, and share us your point of view as an entrepreneur in this regard.
Sure. So SEC Identify, which is the on-chain KYC product, we spent quite a lot of time building it, and we've learned a big lesson. It's still there, but we've learned a big lesson from that project, and we've since made strategies around pivoting. Not just that product specifically is still going to exist, but also pivoting to something that will not only depend on the existing Web3 markets and MultiversX, ecosystem market. I think that's one of the most important things that we've realized, is that yes, you are absolutely right. The market is small, and there is a lot of what I call, cannibalism, in terms of capital goes there, and then new NFT project launches, you sell this one, you buy that one, right? This is to me, it's I mean, it's okay if you're a flipper, and I'm not, and so my mind doesn't work that way. So new capital, new users, new usage, this is what we're after. And if we don't even talk about enterprise, we talk about other things. Users, even just going down to users using the technology. This is very important, to have external users that use MultiversX technology or Web3 technology without knowing it. And this is the point, right? And this is where we want to get to. So whether it's for SEC Identify or whether it's for any other enterprises or businesses or projects that we onboard or we create, we want to create this experience whereby it's actually adding value in a verifiable, transparent, or whatever other beneficial way, without the barriers of them, for example, signing up to Exporter, which is pretty seamless now, but still it's one more process, right? So X-alias, for example, comes into very good use here. And I think it's underutilized. So I think the main pivot here is the mindset of, hey, the projects that we are building is catering only for MultiversX, and the multi-chain thing and how it caters for all chains. Really, I want to kind of skip that and go, while we're building products and we're onboarding enterprises, that abstract all that away and users do not know that they're using a blockchain. And that's, to me, both for Multiconomy and for all of us and for MultiversX team, I think it's a good mindset to have when we're onboarding new users, is to make them so comfortable that they don't even know they've left Web 2 for Web 3. So hopefully we can achieve that in the next 6 months, a year, 2 years.
Thank you very much, Joe. It was a pleasure to have you this morning. Keep it up. Take care. And yeah, will you be there at X Day in Munich?
I wish I was there. I wish I would be there. I've contemplated, but it is a 24-hour flight for me there and a 24-hour flight for me back. So
And it's
I'll be
a
on the plane for
24-hour
48
event.
hours. Yeah, exactly. I'll
Yeah.
be on the plane for 48 hours just to be on the ground for 24 hours. So it's a bit difficult, but definitely the X Day in hopefully, it's still going to be in Korea at some point next year. That one I was planning to go to anyway, and I still have conviction to go there. I wish I was, going to Munich. Hopefully I can make it, but at this stage it's looking unlikely.
Okay, see you there then. Thank you very much. Have a very good day. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao,
Thank you for
Joe.
having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, it was a fascinating, very interesting discussion. Thank you very much, guys, for running this. It was cool. So it's
How was
the
your
end.
nap?
Actually, when my cam was switched off, I was doing stuff there and there, but I was not sleeping, and I was listening to you. But the nap is coming.
I mean,
You
the
deserve
main
it.
problem right now is like you cannot drink coffee, otherwise you will never sleep later. And I mean, because you wake up, like you just put an alarm, just wake up now, do the stream, and go back to bed. I guess, yeah, no.
No, not really, because just after the stream, I have many things to do to broadcast everywhere. So I still have an hour of work, but I will try to sleep 1 hour or two before the day is starting. It's only 6 here now, but it's okay. It's perfect, and I'm very happy to host this space with you guys. So thank you again. I remind everyone here that you can find the replay on X, on YouTube, on every podcast platform. So don't forget to subscribe, to share, to rate, to activate the bell, and so forth if you haven't already. It's very important for us. So see you next Wednesday for a new GM Web3 MultiversX with a new guest, new news, new chronicles, new debates. And for the French-speaking ones, see you on Friday for a new show. We'll speak about Solana, NFT, and DeFi. So yeah, we are trying to speak about every ecosystem. So take care of yourselves, and yeah, bye.
Cheers,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.
Ciao, ciao.